Said her name was Barbara. They didn't give me her last name because she was married and she wanted to keep things on a first-name basis, and that was all right with me. I told her to call me Russ.
Yeah.
She said her husband worked nights, one of the aircraft plants. And I told her about my job, that I sold watches. She kind of laughed when I told her.
What about?
Well, it was a big coincidence. Me being a watch salesman, she was planning to buy a watch. Told me the one she had was ready to give up the ghost.
I see.
Then she showed it to me on her wrist. A real cheap kind, just a piece of junk.
Yeah.
Well, she asked me if maybe I could get her a new one wholesale, and I said I might be able to arrange it. Then I suggested she come up to my room and look at the samples I had there.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't up to anything. I figured we'd have a couple of drinks, but that was all.
Sure.
And then she kind of hesitated, said it wouldn't look very good. And finally she agreed. We went over to the hotel, and I had a bottle in my room, and I fixed us a drink. And then I showed her the watches. And she picked out the one she didn't have any money with her, not enough to pay for it anyway.
Yeah.
Then I told her she could have it for free. You know, as a present. It wasn't an expensive model, and I was going to pay the company back out of my own pocket. So she took off her old watch, and she put it in her purse. And she put the new one on.
Go ahead.
And then she said we ought to have a couple more drinks, you know, to kind of celebrate the present. But she offered to fix them. Well, maybe she put something in mine, or maybe they were just strong. I don't know. Anyway, I don't remember much after that.
What'd you do, pass out?
Yeah, I guess so. Next thing I knew, it was morning, about 6:30, and I'd fallen asleep on the bed with all my clothes on.
Yeah.
That must be why she didn't take my wallet.
All right, what happened then?
Well, I didn't think anything was wrong. I couldn't remember when Barbara left, but I blacked out before when I've had a little too much.
Yeah.
So I took a shower and I got dressed. And it was while I was dressing I noticed the sample case was gone. I looked everywhere for it.
You figure she took it, huh?
Now, who else could have?
Well, maybe.
Boy, you guys are pretty hard to convince, aren't you?
Well, why didn't you tell us about Barbara when you first came in here?
Well, I was thinking of my job.
Yeah.
Boss just promoted me a couple of months ago. I'm doing pretty good. I'm making fair money.
Is that so?
Yeah, if he ever found out I let some dame roll me in a hotel room, well, I'd be out of my ear.
All right.
And that's not all. I got a wife. Helen. That's her name. You guys married?
He is.
Well, then maybe he'll understand. We've only been married a couple of years, and Helen doesn't like the idea of me being on the road half the time. She's suspicious enough as it is.
Yeah.
So I did some quick up with the story I gave you this morning, you know, about George and Paul. Well, it really wasn't my own idea exactly. What I mean is that I was talking to a salesman at the convention the other day, you know, one of the real old-timers. He told me how some guys had robbed him once when he was just starting out, and that's where I got the idea. Sort of switched it around to fit what happened to me. Well, I didn't see where I was doing any harm. I never thought you'd be able to get the watches back anyhow.
Well, you didn't make it any easier for us.
Well, maybe not. But you don't know Helen. Well, she'd leave me sure as fate if this ever gets out.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cause you any trouble. It seemed to make any difference what I told you as long as the watches were gone.
No, it makes a difference.
Yeah?
If we want to find out who took them. 3:15 p.m. We went back to the Greystone Hotel and talked to the manager. He gave us the home telephone number of the elevator boy who had been on duty the previous night. We called the boy, and he told us he remembered taking a passenger who resembled Russell Liggins up to the third floor sometime after 2 a.m. in the morning. He also remembered that Liggins had been accompanied by a young lady. He did not remember bringing the lady down, but he suggested that she might have used the stairs. We called the crime lab, and they went over Liggins' room. They found no useful fingerprints or other physical evidence. 5:15 p.m., we went back to the office. Liggins gave us a description of the girl known to him as Barbara. We showed him some mug shots, but he was unable to identify any of the women. 7:18 p.m., Frank and I again interviewed the bartender at the Green Hat Cafe.
Well, what did I tell you? Just a couple of questions, that's all. Next thing I know, you guys have moved in for the winter.
All right, Sam, now take it easy.
Have I got any choice?
You remember the girl Liggins was talking to in here last night?
So it's a girl? No, I thought it was two guys.
Oh, come on, Sam, you mentioned her yourself.
I never figured you fellas believed anything I told you.
We want to know who she is.
Just a girl, that's all. She comes in once in a while.
She got a name?
Never introduced herself.
She live in the neighborhood?
I don't know.
Well, who does?
Look, this Liggins is a character. He's already taken you for one ride today. Now, why don't you get off?
We'd like to get in touch with her, Sam.
Get in touch.
You gonna help?
Well, how can I help you? I don't know her name. I don't know her address.
Yeah, well, maybe you can find out.
I busted my crystal ball just the other day.
All right. We'll send with uniforms to watch your joint for a few days. You got any objections?
Well, sure. Cops make me nervous. Like the customers nervous, too.
Maybe you got the wrong kind of customers.
Well, what are you going to do? All right, talk to Jeanette.
Jeanette?
Yeah, the waitress. She's in the back room eating her chow.
She know the girl we're looking for?
Yeah, they're real buddy-buddy. Spend half their time chinning together. Never get any work out of Jeanette once the other one comes in.
All right, Sam, thank you.
You know, there's something been worrying me.
What's that?
Whenever you guys show up, I make up my mind you're not going to get any answers from me. I'm not even going to give you the time of day. And then what happens? I end up telling you everything you want to know.
Maybe you just like us, Sam.
Yeah, that's what's been worrying me.
Frank and I walked back into the kitchen of the Green Hat Cafe, and we interviewed the waitress, Jeanette Grover. She told us that her friend's name was Barbara Hooper. She also told us that she had no idea where Barbara lived.
Used to have a room over on Western, but she moved when she got married.
How long ago was that?
3 weeks. Oh, no, let's see. It's longer. Oh, they went to Vegas on a Sunday. It'd be 4 weeks next Sunday.
Mm-hmm. You're sure you don't have her address, huh?
No, she gave it to me once, but I didn't take it down. I wouldn't have no use for it.
How's that?
I don't get along with Tom.
Tom?
Yeah, that's Barbara's husband. Tom Kernan. Oh, say, that's right. I guess I made a mistake.
Ma'am?
When you asked me what her last name was, I said it was Hooper. I should have said Kernan now.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know why she ever married him. A good-looking girl like Barbara. She sure could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Tramp. That's all he is. Well, I told her what she's letting herself in for.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a record as long as my right arm. I've seen him come and go. When you work in a place like this, you can spot a rotten apple a mile off.
Mm-hmm.
I figured he'd get into trouble this fast, though. What do you want with her?
Just like to get in touch with her, that's all.
Oh, now, I know better than that about cops. They want to get in touch. They mean business. You mind me giving you a piece of advice?
Not at all.
I don't blame her, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's to blame, whatever she's done. You check into it and you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The gal gets married to a wrong guy and lasses up her whole life. Not her fault.
Except for one thing.
Yeah?
She married him. We went back to the office and ran the name Thomas Kernan through the record bureau. They came up with a package. Kernan had served time for burglary and was now on active parole. We checked with Fred Galloway at adult parole. He told us that Kernan's last known address was an apartment on Western Avenue. We drove out there. It's down here.
Yeah. Yeah, here it is.
Huh?
You all set?
Wait a minute. All right.
What do you want?
Come on, open up.
Okay. Keep your hat on.
Police officer, standing still.
Who's moving?
It's clean, Joe.
Where's your wife?
Out.
Out where?
I don't know. She wasn't here when I came home.
We'll look around.
Be my guest. Always knew you guys rode as ex-cons. That ain't no surprise. But I didn't know you started picking on our wives, too.
No.
She's a nice kid.
Mm-hmm.
Start in on her. You stay on my back. I'm used to it. But let her alone.
Joe?
Yeah.
I found this case in the closet.
The watch is still inside.
Most of them, anyway.
All right.
The heck's that?
You didn't know about this?
Of course not.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I never saw him before.
Your wife did.
Hmm?
How soon will she be back?
I don't know.
We'll wait.
Up to you. Never saw those watches before in my life, I'm telling you the truth.
You bet you are.
Even if Barbara did take them, that don't make me guilty of anything.
No.
Stupid broad. Then you start making with a question, she'll spill the whole deal.
Thought you didn't know anything about it.
Maybe I knew she was looking for a setup. What does that prove? Some setup. Guy with a suitcase full of watches. Disney dame didn't even know they had serial numbers on them. What a brain. First job she ever pulled, she gets picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Time I was her age, I'd pulled half a dozen. You cops hadn't even tumbled once.
You're real bright.
That's the use. They won't learn. Tried to teach her the ropes. Gets picked up on her first job.
You know, you should have expected that.
Why? What do you mean?
Look who taught her.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 2nd, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial. Thomas Carew Kernan was returned to the adult authority for violation of parole. Violation of parole is punishable by the term not served. Barbara Jane Kernan was found guilty of grand theft, 1 count. Grand theft is punishable by imprisonment in a county jail for not more than 9 years, or in a state prison for not less than 1, nor more than 10 years. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Classic radio programs heard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right here on Old Time Radio USA, 24/7.
Stand by.
Hi, Chuck Morgan. You know, right now, just about every large American has a threat of communism. It's an insidious thing, dangerous, and a little bit frightening. In some cities, it's worse than others. Here in Los Angeles, where I work as a newscaster on radio station KOP, we feel that the threat is more than frightening. It's a menace that must be stamped out if our way of life is to survive. Well, today you can turn the dial of your radio, or pick up a newspaper and read where the Committee on Un-American Activities is investigating some well-known Hollywood celebrity. It gives you a queer feeling when you see those familiar names. You wonder who's going to be next and why. And you find yourself groping for an answer to this disease that is doing its best to undermine Americanism. Those were the thoughts that were running through my mind when I came into my office a few weeks ago and found the script for my 7 o'clock broadcast lying on my desk. I read it through and got a jolt that set me back on my heels. Just as I finished, my blonde secretary, Carol Curtis, came in.
Hi, Chucky boy.
Hi. Who wrote this?
Who wrote what?
This script, my 7 o'clock broadcast.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Pappy wrote it. He asked me to leave it on your desk.
Pappy?
Well, sure. What's wrong with that? After all, Chuck, Pappy owns KOP, and if he wants... Where are you going?
Never mind. Now, you get at that typewriter and knock out another script. This one's out. See you later.
Okay, Mayor. It'll be on the air tonight. Goodbye. Oh, hello, Chuck. What's on your mind?
You know what's on my mind, Pappy. What kind of tripe is this you want me to broadcast tonight?
Tripe? Hey, wait a minute. I wrote that script.
So, Carol said, are you out of your mind, Pappy? It's loaded with red propaganda.
I know it is.
You know? Now, hold it, Pappy. This I don't believe.
Sit down, Chuck, and I'll tell you about it.
Very good.
Chuck, if you use this script on your broadcast tonight, there'll be a storm of protest that'll start your ears ringing.
Don't worry. I'm not going to use it.
As a matter of fact, if the reaction becomes great, I may have to go so far as to give you the can.
I've already told you
I'd hate to have to do it, Chuck, but after all, I've got the station and its policies to think of. You'd probably have a tough time getting another job.
Yeah, I probably would. Now, suppose we cut out the double talk and you give me the pitch.
Suppose that did happen, Chuck. Suppose I did have to fire you. And I would if you... What do you think would happen?
Let's not try to find out.
I'll tell you what I think would happen. You're a pretty important guy. Your opinion carries a lot of weight. The communists know that.
So?
So sooner or later, you'd be approached. Maybe offered a job on some other station. They'd have a well-worked-out plan wherein you could be of service to the cause.
I'm still hazy on this, Pappy, but if you think that
Wait till I finish, will you, please? Now, if that should happen, you'd be in a position to put your finger on Mr. Big.
Mr. Big?
The FBI knows there's a big man here in L.A., a very big man. Maybe a high government official who's head of the communists. They want to know who he is.
And they think I can locate him?
It's a chance.
That I'm not going to take. What do you take me for, Pappy? It might be weeks or even years before I could pull that chestnut out of the fire. I might never do it. And all that time I wouldn't have a friend in the world. I'd be despised by everyone.
But if you succeeded in doing the job, you'd have performed a service for your country that may be measured in human lives and freedom and a way of life we want to keep in operation.
It's a thankless job.
It might be, except to those who are close to you, like myself and Carol Curtis. After it's over, she'd know.
It's over. Do you mean that even Carol wouldn't
No one's going to know about this, Chuck, but myself and the FBI. It's got to look like the real McCoy.
You sound as if you expect me to do it.
I do.
Oh, you do? Well, get this through
It's
your
a pretty good country, Chuck. Let's do what little we can to keep it that way. You've exposed